Christ, what the hell do you want?
Hey, Darkness, what you doing?
Crackers?
Hey, take a look over there on the wall.
It's a shadow.
Yes, indeed it is.
Uh-huh. I got nothing to say. Let's go.
This world was devastated before I was born.
Die in a fire! Okay, that was probably really mean and uncalled for, but... Like, Silver just... like, pisses me off so unbelievably much. Like, you don't have any clue how much I hate this guy. Like, he's like the worst fucking character I've ever seen. He's annoying, he's a waste of time, and he's completely unnecessary. And this whole I'm here to save the future thing, Jesus Christ, man, it's just, he's all fucking melodramatic and shit, and the worst part is, he has, like, the worst plot hole intro I've ever seen in my life, because like, Shadow had 2, which was impressive, but Silver has 3, taking it up a notch.
A harsh, bleak place where we live in eternal darkness. Life is a struggle, and people live without hope.
Good!
How did this happen? No one will answer me directly.
Because you're an annoying twit!
They always point to the flames. These flames, they burn away at my world, destroying everything in their path. They come from an eternal life form that we cannot truly defeat. The flames of disaster known as Iblis.
Silver!
Blaze, what's wrong?
Are you fucking serious? What the hell is she doing here? Okay, Blaze isn't from the future. She's not. She's fucking not. And I've heard a lot of explanations for how she's in this game and how she's here. None of them make any sense. Alright? None of them. I don't care what you try to tell me. She shouldn't be here. Okay, if you know anything about Blaze from the Sonic Rush games, she shouldn't fucking be here. So there's the first plot hole of Silver's story. That was quick. Oh, there's a second one right here. How about the fact that Silver can fucking float indefinitely in this cutscene, whereas in gameplay he can't? There's another one. Oh, and that little, like, Super Saiyan dash thing? Yeah, that never happens. There's another one. And if you're saying, oh, he does get that move later in the game, well, for one, you have to buy that shit. And for two, he wouldn't have it now if you had to buy it later, and it's never that strong, and shut up, it's a fucking plot hole, eat a dick. So Silver's first level is Crisis City, because you really wanted to do that level again. The only reason why Silver's story is a little fresher than the other two is that his gameplay is radically different from both Sonic and Shadow. See, the problem with the other two stories is that Sonic and Shadow's gameplay is very, very similar. There's a couple differences, but for the most part, they're basically the same. Silver's, on the other hand, is unique, which helps keep things fresh, I suppose, so you can kind of ignore the rehashed level issue, but it does wear on you after a while. And in addition, Silver's gameplay, because it's so different, comes with a whole nother basket of problems that I'm going to address as we go along. For one, the idea of Silver's gameplay is that he can, move shit with his mind, which is fine, but one of the problems you run into is that you can't pick up enemies unless you stun them, which really doesn't make any goddamn sense when you honestly think about it. They probably did that to limit him so he wouldn't be, overpowered, which, fine, I guess, but he makes things float in cutscenes without a problem. He doesn't have to stun them then. Why now? All of a sudden now it's a huge issue. And the problem with Silver's combat is that it boils down to lifting up crates and throwing them at enemies. And then doing that again. And again. You're seeing a pattern here. That's all he fucking does. and it does get old after a while. And they try to mix it up with some different things, like bending steel girders down to use as springboards, which, by the way, if you were shooting for realistic physics, you should know, if he bent a steel girder down, it wouldn't bounce back up, it would stay bent because it's so dense. Thanks for that, good job. But the other thing is that the crates that he uses, just so you don't run out of them, respawn in front of you and just blip back into existence, which I guess is really fucking convenient, but what the hell? Also, during this level, you get to play as Blaze, yet another character who shouldn't be in this game, who you get to play as, which, you know, fine. And the worst part about it, and best, I guess, is that Blaze's gameplay is actually semi-competent. And by semi-competent, I mean it's fucking broken as shit, but it's less broken than the rest of the game, which is odd when you consider that you only get to play as her, I think, 3 times throughout the entire course of the game. What the hell? Like, you spend a lot of time making a character decent to play as, and you only play as her 3 times? Yeah, that's good. Why have Silver at all? Just make it Blaze or something. Like, it still wouldn't make any sense, but at least, you know, you'd be having fun. The only issue I have with Blaze's gameplay is that her X attack, which is sort of like a homing attack, but not only is really unreliable, but is really spastic and can send you out of control. It's really hard to deal with, and I still don't fully understand how it works. It sort of does what it does when it wants to, and then doesn't. I have no idea how to explain this. She bounces off enemies and then does this twirl in the air, which you can't get out of, which leaves you open to an attack, which I hate. But then there's times where you bounce off multiple enemies with the same attack, and then they're all dead, and then it's no problem. I don't get this at all. What the fuck? Whatever. Anyway, so after you get done with that goddamn level, you fight Iblis, which is actually another unique boss in the game that nobody else fights. It's as good a time as any to mention that both Shadow and Silver have 2 unique boss fights, where Sonic only gets 1. So you give your title character a bunch of rehashed boss fights, but you give the other guys 2 unique ones. Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, this boss fight actually isn't that terrible, believe it or not. I mean, it boils down to just throwing things at him, but, you know, it's more brute force than the other one. And at least in this case, unlike every other boss fight, it's not a waiting game. You can keep attacking him. Although he does kind of pick and choose when he takes damage. I don't understand this. Also, at some point, Blaze is like, hey, you should hit his armored head. That's his weak spot. You know, I think his armored head might be one of the parts of him you don't want to hit, because it's armored, but sure, whatever works for you. So you beat him, and that's great, and Silver has a fucking spaz attack because, oh no, we'll never be able to beat him. And then Mephiles shows up, who says, hey, I know a way to stop this. And they're like, hey, no-mouth creepy guy, you seem legit, and we're just gonna follow you because you are in no way suspicious at all whatsoever. Yeah, and I'd count that as a plot hole, except that more leads into the fact that Silver is an incompetent moron rather than a straight-up plot hole. I legitimately believe he's supposed to be an idiot, so I can kind of believe that he believes that Mephiles is totally on the level here.
For the future.
So Mephiles takes Silver and Blaze to find the computer room, because that was necessary, and shows them the data he has, and shows them the Iblis trigger in his corrupted Chaos Emerald, because that's not suspicious whatsoever. And it's Sonic, and they're like, oh my god, we gotta kill that guy. And Mephiles is like, it's okay, I can travel through time, and we can do that. And I, again, really need to raise a question here. Does nobody in this group, you know, at least Blaze, who seems like she knows what she's doing to a certain extent, question the fact that this dude is not only suspicious as fuck without a mouth, but can just travel through time on a whim? Like, that's just normal. That's just okay. We don't have to question that at all. And I get that we're talking about a world where there's a blue hedgehog who can travel the speed of sound, and a silver hedgehog who can move stuff with his mind, so maybe time travel isn't that out there. But really, guys, you aren't gonna ask any fucking questions about this? This guy is suspicious as fuck to you. This is the most transparent villain I've ever seen. He doesn't even try to attempt to act normal. Like, he acts creepy as fuck, like, the whole time. You know, and you never raise a single question about him. You know, it's not like you know, he looks creepy, he acts creepy, and he talks without a mouth. Oh no, we should totally buy what this guy is telling us. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so when he transports them through time, they get separated, which is really confusing because I still question how the fuck this time travel thing is supposed to work. Maybe you could argue that Mephiles intentionally separated them, but wouldn't that further inhibit his plans if they're separated? I mean, when he, you know, sent Shadow and Rouge into the future to screw with them, he didn't separate them. So why'd he separate the people he's supposed to be using to further his plans? This really doesn't make any goddamn sense. So Silver is in the jungle area, and my fucking Christ, Silver's movement speed is so brutal on the world map, I swear to fucking God. It takes forever to get anywhere, especially on this map. Oh my fucking God, move your ass.
For the future.
Jesus, I know he's supposed to be slow, but if you were gonna include a slow as fuck character, why'd you have to make the map so big? It's not like there's anything pretty to look at or to do. There's nothing here! God damn. Oh yeah, Silver can, like, make platforms come up with his mind, which, okay, that's cool, I guess, but he can only do it in certain spots, and I have no idea, you know, what limits this. It doesn't affect his, you know, bar at all, which, by the way, his energy bar is how they limit him in terms of his power, but it doesn't limit him with this, so what the fuck. And you go to the jungle area, which is the same area you did as Rouge. The only difference is that you can't cheat like you did with Rouge and fly over everything. No, you have to go through on foot, which is a lot more complicated than you'd think because this level is the most convoluted, confusing, poorly designed level in the entire fucking game, and yes, I genuinely mean that. The reason I say that is because it's so fucking confusing. Because of the way Silver's powers work, like, they sort of tried to build it around it so that you solve puzzles here, which, okay, great, but the problem is that you can sort of go around puzzles and then get lost and then take different paths, and you might say, hey, different paths, that's cool, except that it never feels like you're ever going the right direction, and you're never really sure where you're supposed to go, and you get to ride giant turtles, great. I mean, for God's sake, I just don't get this. And the best advice I can give is try to get to the highest level possible and stay there. It's way easier to get around from that direction. If you're on the ground level, you have to do this ridiculous puzzle with a giant ball, and you kind of have to do that when you're on the top level, but it's way easier there, whereas on the bottom you kind of have to use it as a platform, but not really. I don't fucking get it at all. It's retarded. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, Blaze is at Wave Ocean, playing Wave Ocean again, because I really needed to go through the same level that I already went through as, like, 3 other goddamn characters. Oh wait, 4. Because thanks for that, game. It's not any different! Why are you continuously rehashing this fucking level? What is your goddamn problem? So, somehow after the jungle, Silver makes his way into town and finds Sonic the night that Eggman attacks, and he's like, oh, I finally found you. And then fucking Amy mistakes Silver for Sonic, and you know what? I can totally buy Shadow to a certain extent. Like, he's the wrong color. I know, but at least he kinda resembles Sonic at least a little bit. Just a little bit. You know, maybe there was a sun glare that day in Sonic Adventure 2 when she mistaked him for Sonic. But Silver looks nothing, and I mean nothing, like Sonic, so how the hell does she make that mistake again? And oh my god, what is she doing to him? Bad touch, Amy! Bad touch! Bad! So, Amy apologizes for having Silver leave his mark, and she's like, oh, I'll help you find who you're looking for too, even though looking for the same person, running joke. And so they go into town, and then you have to fucking do a fucking town mission where you kill some Eggman robots in order to get the region to give you the pass to the desert. And I've noticed he keeps having to do that, which begs the question why he lets anyone in the desert, given the fact there's killer sand there that will totally murder your ass. So you go to the sand level after you're done with that, and the sand level is just as annoying as you'd expect, except for the fact, okay, get this, there are ball puzzles here. And Silver's gameplay revolves around puzzle solving, but in this particular instance, it's retarded. Okay, there's 2 ball puzzles you have to work with. And the first one, you know, I noticed this because I was too busy playing with the fact that there's no friction on the top of these things, because physics and shit. the best advice I can give you for this first one is actually just to wait, because the direction the balls go and the fact they never stop rolling, sort of leads to your advantage, because they'll end up rolling into the holes on their own. If you wait long enough, you'll probably get like 5 or 6 in without touching them at all, and then you can just push them in yourself, the last few. So it's really easy that way, because the issue with this ball puzzle is you try to do it manually, you're liable to mess up, and the problem is that you only have 10 hits to get all the balls in, and maybe that doesn't sound too bad, but it can be pretty difficult. You get to play as Amy too, because that's fun, and by that I mean it's not at all. She's nowhere near as enjoyable as she was to play as in Sonic Adventure, and she can go invisible because she fucking can, and we're not even gonna question that, I guess. Whatever. She also has a double jump, which is way less useful than you think, because whenever you double jump, you lose all your forward momentum, so it's liable to get you killed if you're not used to it. She also seems to kill like every enemy in one hit with her hammer, and the problem is the hammer's kind of on a delay, so you have to be really careful when you play as Amy. But overall, you really don't want to be playing as Amy. And then the last part is another ball puzzle, and this ball puzzle in particular is pretty infamous on the basis that, well, it's annoying as fuck. And people like bitch about this way too much, honestly, because I didn't have that many issues with it when I first played the game. It's not that difficult. And in addition, people usually use this ball puzzle as a reason for why the physics are bad. And I tell you what, the physics have nothing to do with why this puzzle is annoying. The physics actually work fine. The problem is that the puzzle is needlessly difficult to begin with. But the issue is more that you really don't have much control over your direction and how hard Silver hits the ball. I mean, you kind of do, but it's really hard to line up properly. And by really difficult, I mean basically impossible. Because the issue is not only do you have to worry about your angle, which is difficult to line up to begin with because of the way the game works, but you also have to worry about how hard he's hitting it, and you control that by holding down the push button. And that is way less reliable than it sounds. And most people probably ended up hitting it way too hard or way too soft, and again, you only have 10 shots to hit it. And of course, there's, bottomless pits that the ball can fall in, you have to restart. And if you're having that many issues with it, there's actually an exploitable glitch you can do with Silver that can be used to go through the tops of doors, which is great. So you can skip the whole thing, no problem. And you can also use this glitch to examine other parts of the level you aren't supposed to be in, like the part that Shadow ran in, because they rehash the whole thing and load parts of the level that you don't even use, which, maybe not doing that would have limited load time, Sega. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, you get done with that, and then you find Sonic, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, and this is the most hilarious goddamn boss fight in the game. You can't grab Sonic like you think, because it's no use, I guess. But, what you can do is grab every single piece of furniture around and wreck his shit, because Sonic has no invincibility frames. So if you grab like everything around you and just destroy his ass, you'll beat him in a fraction of a second. It's retarded. So Silver beats up on Sonic, Amy protects him, and Amy's like, hey, if I had to choose between the world and Sonic, I'd choose Sonic because I'm in love or whatever. And Silver's like, oh, I'm sad now, and he goes off to be all emo somewhere.
For the future.
Where Blaze finds him, and he's like, is it the right thing to do to kill Sonic to save the future? And she's like, well, we have to take this chance and everything. Why, stop being a pussy. And Silver's like, oh, okay. And she calls him naive, and I have no idea how he's being naive. He's just questioning his actions, which, I would argue, is more of a redeemable factor for Silver, because he's not just being a merciless killer. He's, questioning, am I really doing the right thing here? And that's a sort of a respectable trait to a certain extent, and you will never hear me say another good word about Silver ever again. I just want you to know that. So they decide that since Sonic is searching for Eggman, how they know that is anyone's guess, they should go to White Acropolis to find him, and then you get to play as Silver in White Acropolis, and play as Blaze in White Acropolis, and there's something special of note there, because it's not even a puzzle level, you just kind of run through and throw stuff at enemies. So there's nothing really to mention about it. It's pretty pointless, to be perfectly frank. But then you get to fight the Egg Genesis again, which, great. Thanks for that. Really wanted to do that again. And you just throw stuff at it, and it dies. It's pretty pathetic. And then You know, I thought this was a fucking plot hole. And then I realized, no, it's not. It's not a plot hole at all. It's actually a sensible course of action. See, right after this, Silver finds the blue emerald that Sonic had that he got from Elise. And I'm like, how did he get it here? But then I realized that Sonic put it down when Eggman sent him into the future, so it's stuck there, and it serves to reason that maybe Eggman was using it to power one of the egg Genesis's, whatever. And so, when he destroyed it, the emerald is indestructible, so, you know, it survived the blast, and he picks it up. So, this isn't a plot hole. This is actually reasonable writing, for once. This is how he got the emerald. So, okay, so he gets the emerald, so he has it, which, great. But meanwhile, while this is happening, Amy's looking for Sonic and Eggman's base, and Elise is escaping on her own, just walking the fuck out. Did he not lock the door? How did she escape? So Amy helps her get out, and then you guys do a town mission as Amy where you kill a bunch of robots, then Elise goes back to the palace and gets kidnapped again right away. I thought I retired that counting gag. I didn't think I'd have to use it again. I completely forgot that she got captured again during Silver's story. While Sonic is in the future. For fuck's sake. How many times can you lose and regain a prisoner? This is ridiculous. So Silver and Blaze get back from White Acropolis with no information, and they bump into Mephiles, and Silver's like, hey, who is the Abyss Trigger? Can you tell us anything? And Mephiles is still acting creepy as fuck and asking why that matters, and you should still seriously just kill him, because Mephiles is just too lazy to do it itself, I guess. That's foreshadowing. So they're like, yeah, let's go to the train station to chase down the Abyss Trigger, kick his ass. And you gotta sneak in, because the game all of a sudden goes all Metal Gear on you and expects you to do this town mission where you sneak past, which looks way, way, way harder than it actually is, because the guard AI is completely fucking broken, and their line of sight is, like, next to nothing, so sneaking past really isn't a goddamn problem, like, at all. So you do Radical Train, and at first I thought this was another huge goddamn plot hole, because Radical Train, again, this is being done at the same time as both Shadow and Sonic doing Radical Train, when they're chasing down the train at the same time. That was a huge plot hole. But Silver's not chasing a train at all, so you could possibly argue that Silver is running through this level right after both Sonic and Shadow, right after the train. He's tailing right behind them. So it sort of stands to reason that maybe that makes sense. Sort of. Whatever. So Silver finds Sonic and almost kills him,
For the
and Elise gets captured like she did before. I'm not going to count that because I already counted it once. And then Shadow shows up and he's like, I'm Shadow, not Mephiles, you moron. And Shadow is actually a little bit harder than Sonic for a couple reasons. One, he actually has more moves and actually has invincibility frames. Two, there's less stuff to grab to throw at Shadow, and it sort of devolves into this game of Ring Around the Rosie where you run around the middle of the map picking up the never-ending respawning barrels to chuck at Shadow, and eventually you'll put him down. It's not a hard fight by any means, it's just tedious. So yeah, Silver gets kicked in the head again, and they go to the past with their Chaos Emeralds, because they both use Chaos Control at the same time for no reason. And then you get to do the fucking lab level as Silver, where you're chasing down Iblis, and you play a Shadow randomly for no goddamn reason. Don't know why that is, and that's fun, sort of, for all of 5 seconds you do it. No, seriously, you only play a Shadow for like 30 seconds, I don't get it. This level has some puzzle solving, but the problem is, I didn't mention this about Silver's gameplay, but his glide thing is actually really exploitable. Similar to Omega's, but not nearly as stupid. See, Silver has a limit on how much he can glide. It's limited by, again, his power gauge, like I mentioned before. But the issue here is that if you rapidly press the A button as opposed to hold it down, you drain the gauge a lot slower, yet you can go a lot farther. This breaks entire sections of the game where you can just completely skip over what would be challenging puzzles. It's such an exploitable bug. I would call it a bug. Like it's not an exploit. It's a glitch. They shouldn't allow you to do this sort of thing, because it's such an unbelievable problem. Because it allows you to skip what would be annoying puzzles. And you know, you might be saying, well, I don't want to do the puzzles. Well, yeah, but the point was to have you do the puzzles. The point of the game and the point of Silver's gameplay was to be a puzzler. And if you can continuously skip over puzzles because of bugs or glitches or whatever it may be, that is a big fucking problem. So you track down Iblis, and then Elise's dad seals the flames within Elise. Why he doesn't seal it without inside himself and then dies with the flames is anyone's guess. Of course, if we're going by this game's logic, when a person dies with a bliss inside them, a bliss gets released anyway, so I question what the whole point of this other than to delay the inevitable, since Elise is never going to know that the flames are inside her until it's way, way, way too late. But the thing is, the flames also get released by crying, and I can't even tell you what a massive fucking humongous plot hole this is. How can you expect a 6-year-old girl to never cry? Ever. I can't imagine how that's even remotely possible. She's 6. If she just found out her dad died, of course she's gonna cry. And it's not like she can hear him or anything. She's unconscious, so how does she know that she made this promise to her dad to never cry? I just don't understand this. So they leave the lab, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be right outside Soliana Castle. I think they're using that map. That's what this looks like to me. Not that the lab would be under that, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so you know, they're like, whatever, you're leaving behind the scepter. You know, you've seen this all before, but the part you didn't see is right after Silver uses Chaos Control to open the rift in time, so, you know, Shadow and him can travel back to the future. He's like, hey, I'm gonna leave this Chaos Emerald with you, so you'll have it, so that you'll have it to give to Sonic in the future, so Sonic can lose it, so I can have it to give to you in the past. And Silver, by leaving that emerald, you fucking opened the biggest fucking plot hole in the fucking game. What is wrong with you? Because the issue with this emerald is that by it being stuck in this time loop, it is literally impossible for any previous Sonic game to ever have occurred ever. They can't happen without that emerald. They can't. They can't happen. It's not possible. And this fucking, you know, lab thing took place well before the other games. So at some point the emerald got stuck in this time loop. And at some point Elise just had the emerald. So there's no way for Sonic and his friends to ever have the emerald. I think, unless it all happened, but then they went back in time and had the emerald. Except, you know, maybe they had the emerald up until some point when Silver did it, but Silver would never do it if Elise didn't have the emerald in the first place, so she had to have had the emerald from some point. So how the hell did the time loop get started in the first place? And then I have to raise the question that, again, none of the previous games could have happened except maybe the first one of the games with multiple emeralds that are non-canon, whatever. But, like, particularly the Sonic Adventure games, where the emeralds play a major focus with the plot, all 7 of them. One of them is always the blue one, which is the one that Elise happens to have. And you might be saying, well, maybe this game took place before all the other Sonic games, which I would totally be, up for, saying, except for the fact that the Shadow's fucking in it, so that's not possible either. Also, Knuckles is here, and Knuckles didn't become an enemy, or, and rival and friend or whatever of Sonic until Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which also had the emeralds clearly fixated as 7. Shit, you turn them into Super Emeralds and go fucking Hypersonic, which is also not fucking possible, because fucking Silver, with this fucking emerald, giving it to fucking Elise, so she has it, so it's stuck in a never-ending time loop, so nobody ever can have 7 emeralds, and... What the fuck? Silver just screwed up the entire continuity of the entire Sonic series.
For the future.
And then everyone wonders why I hate this fucking guy. So, Silver gets back to the future and meets up with Blaze, and without actually telling her what's happening, they're like, we have to go save the princess instead, even though he never really explained to her why, but she's just like goes along with it because Silver's a trustworthy source, I guess. And then I don't even know what's happening here. All of a sudden, you run into these guards who are like, hey, we're really bad at our jobs, and we need you to protect this chick because she knows the secret. Okay, and then you gotta protect her from fucking Eggman robots. You want to talk about busy work? Welcome to the most pointless mission in the entire game.
For the future.
What the hell, guys? I have no idea. You do it, and then they're like, hey, Sonic went to the Kingdom Valley, but you have to do the trials first because we're dicks about this. And riddle me this, why are Silver's trials different than Sonic's? You know, if you have 3 trials, you have 3 trials, but do you have 6? Do you have more than 6? Do you pick and choose based on the person? Do you just make this shit up as you go along? Usually when you have 3 trials to gain access to an area, you have 3. Just the 3. So you do the trials, the first one, you test a fucking friendship, because that's good. And they put fucking Blaze in a box and you have to protect her from a Bliss spawn. Okay, for 1, how are there a Bliss spawn? For 2, they put Blaze in a box? That's pretty jacked up. These people are fucking out of their minds. So the next test is a test of memory, which is bullshit because it's not memory, it's a test of questionnaires. And it's just answering really obvious questions, 3 questions to be precise. But the thing that really pisses me off about this stupid mission is that you can't get above a D rank if you read all the questions, which is funny because I'm pretty sure it's not possible to continue the mission unless you read the questions. You know, you can't answer the questions without knowing what the questions are. But if you take the time to read them, then you waste too much time and it gives you a fucking D rank. It's bullshit. So basically what you have to do is play the mission once, get a D rank, and then remember the questions, and then... Oh, I guess this isn't really the test of memory, isn't it? Except that you pass without actually doing that. Whatever, I don't care. Last one's the test of courage, and the idea is that you have to beat all the enemies with no objects to throw, which is a real dick move. But if you're asking, well, how does Silver, fight then? Well, I forgot to mention this, but one of the only cool things about Silver's power is that he can actually grab enemy missiles and throw them back at enemies, which I have to admit, I kind of like that function. And the thing about this mission is that almost every single enemy has missiles to throw. So, there's your fucking ammunition. So you do the trials, and then you go to Kingdom Valley, and you save Sonic's ass from enemies he could have defeated easily on his own.
For the future.
And you go to fucking Kingdom Valley and do the Kingdom Valley shit. And this is arguably the best Silver level, and I only say that on the basis that there's actually a lot of interesting puzzles here. You know, like, I like the idea of bending bars with your mind. That's kind of cool. And, you move a lot of objects, and you use these pendulums to break stuff. And it only angers me, because I tell you what, I wouldn't hate Silver so much if his gameplay was decent. And had they had more time, he could have had a lot of interesting mechanics. There's a lot you can do with Silver's powers. And it's clear with this particular level that they really wanted to do more. Of course, the level's a buggy mess. And by the way, did I mention that Silver's powers cause the worst fucking slowdown you will ever see in this entire game? I didn't mention that before. That's always good, thanks for that. So, yeah, you play as Sonic for a few moments. Again, why? I already did both Sonic and Shadow Stories. Why you have me play as them? And then you play as Silver. You never play as Blaze, though, which is odd. Again, most of it is business as usual. It's just a really lengthy, annoying level. That's my big issue with Silver's gameplay. It takes so long to get anywhere. And it's just tedious for the most part. Even the few times where the puzzles are kind of interesting, you just get bored. Because nothing is happening. You're doing the same things over and over again. Oh, look, enemies. Let me throw stuff at them. Oh, look, there's some more enemies. Let's throw stuff at them. It's all you do. Even if you go to the shop and buy some Silver powers, like you really want to. Of course, the game forces you to do that at some point, which is real nice. But, and buying Silver's powers, really, it doesn't really enhance the gameplay experience at fucking all. And it's only gonna serve to annoy you. It's a waste of time. That's all Silver's gameplay is. A waste of fucking time. And missed opportunity. A waste of potential. What are you doing? Why am I playing this game? Oh right, I'm a glutton for punishment. Let's move on. So, yeah, the egg carrier crashes. So then, fucking Silver's like, hey, no, we could change this. You see this all before. So then Silver and Blaze go to the future through the same portal. Again, really? I don't get how this portal system works. Is there like a select screen when you go through the portal and you can just sit there and be like, hey, I can just choose my time period. It's just normal. Like how do you fucking control this? I don't understand this at all. But they go to the future, and then you do Flame Core, which actually isn't that eventful whatsoever, and, you know, whatever. Great. And you know what's weird? You don't play as Blaze here, even though she's with Silver. I don't get that at all, because there's plenty of times where you could have played as Blaze, but you don't. He's just Silver throwing stuff. Again, you know, what else is new? The only thing that's different is that there's this one part where you find the power of Iblis, I guess, and you gotta destroy it by jumping on it after you dodge some waves, but isn't that shit hot? How is he standing on that? I mean, you know, I guess at that point I could question the logic of being near molten lava for your entire life, like most of the known world is, and considering lava releases noxious fumes, how does anyone survive? You know, the heat is one thing, but the fumes is a pretty big deal. But then you gotta talk about fucking, you know, stepping on the power of oblivion. You know, isn't that like the sun? I mean, come on, really? So he just breaks it with his mind powers, and then you go to the end of the level, and you fight another form of Iblis, the other unique boss that Silver has. And once again, all you do is throw stuff. The only difference is that he's at a really long range. The idea is that you gotta keep him from destroying your platform by throwing back giant boulders at him, which is actually pretty easy when you figure that out. Also, he does this thing where if he gets really close to you and he can't break it, he'll get down and make a funny face. And then you jump on his face and then use your power on his face. I have nothing to say to that. The ultimate power of hell and fire and flames makes a funny face at you, and you jump on his face and use your power on his face. Yeah. There is not a single thing I can say to make that any funnier. So you beat Iblis, and then Silver's like, I will use this ceremony thingy to use this power to seal Iblis inside me, but he's not accepted because he's a pussy. So Blaze is like, oh, I'll do it. And then she does. And then why do they need 2 emeralds for this? Because the king did it with 1, but whatever. She seals it inside herself, and then she says, you gotta seal me in a different dimension, which I don't fully understand, because if it's sealed inside her, like, Blaze is pretty hardcore, I think she could handle that. But, and then, you know, she says use chaos control to seal me in a different dimension, which I guess is their pseudo-explanation for how Blaze got to a different dimension, but how does she not know Sonic over there, and why does she, you know, not even question the fact that she has the Flames of Disaster, and considering she's a princess in the other dimension, that makes no fucking sense. But, you know, Silver won't do it, but she still goes to a different dimension somehow anyway, or she disintegrates, I don't know how that fucking works on the basis that Elise didn't disintegrate when she took the flames in. I don't get this ending at all. Also, by the way, I should probably point out that Silver and Blaze took 2 emeralds with them to the future, which is a problem, because how do they not have emeralds in the past then? Except that when Sonic and Shadow made a portal to the past, they took emeralds from the future to the past. So where are these emeralds are fucking... You know, I'm not even going to try to figure this out. It's ridiculous. You can't take these emeralds all over the place. Now you got duplicate emeralds or something, and then you got emeralds that are in the future, and there's missing emeralds. Can you still are there still 7? I don't fucking know. Maybe, sort of. Why the fuck? I don't get this at all. Whatever. And then Silver's fucking ending happens, and it's really bittersweet, and then you get his awesome theme music, which is like the best thing about Silver.
For the future.
And seriously, I love this fucking song. It is so fucking corny, but it's by far the best music in the whole game. And, you know, you can't sit there and tell me you don't like it, because it's awesome techno autotune crap, but it's still fucking awesome. And I really like it, alright?
Hey, Darkness, I've got a surprise for you.
Huh? What's up?
I'm gonna use your shadow too.
No, you're not.
What are you talking about?
See, originally what I was going to do with this entire review when I wrote it is that I was going to do this thing where you use my shadow, like Mephiles use shadow, and, you know, make an evil doppelganger in the form of Mr. Sanity, and I'd have to fight my evil past self or whatever. But then I decided not to because, well, I'm the writer of this review and I can do whatever the fuck I want. Really, the whole, sort of scripting skits thing. It can be used, and it's funny when it's done well, but there's times where it takes over a review, and I didn't want to have that happen, so I decided to not let you do that.
Are you breaking the fourth wall? But I had you locked in your room.
Well, you really don't have any powers. You're a doll.
And I used my power to make you play that game.
They weren't letting me play it for that long. No, but right now you're not so much stuffed animal as you are a chew toy.
Stuffed animal? What are you talking? Hey, unhand me. Release me. I am the ultimate evil. Let me go. No, not the dog. No, no. Unhand me, you foul beast! I will shoot you one day! Oh, you'll regret this! I am the Mighty Tails doll! I am
Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.